How's it going, everyone? This is Christian Duke from ProgressiveActivist.com. We're here with Allison Renville, just outside the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota. Allison, how are you today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. Now, we were chatting with other people, and it came to my attention that you were a Bernie delegate. I'm a Bernie delegate from Kentucky. You're from South Dakota.
Yes.
So, of course, we're going to talk about what's going on here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least ask you a little bit about the Sanders movement. So, if you could briefly tell us why you got behind Senator Sanders and also why you chose to be a delegate for his campaign.
You know, over a year ago when it first started, what really appealed to me as far as the senator's message was the fact that we're all equal in being an American. You know, as a Native American, I am fully privileged with free health care, free education, and a lot of subsidies that people aren't able to afford. So when there was a candidate who honestly believed that not only the Native Americans, not only people on social services, but everybody worldwide deserves a healthy life and a chance to be taken care of by the government and by everyone else involved, it just kind of inspired me to look into his policies. And the more I looked into it and the more that, you know, I got to know his character, I just was completely enthralled in doing everything I can to advocate for him.
Now, what were your reactions of the convention? I mean, how did you feel like you were treated as a Sanders delegate, considering the fact that we had 46% of the pledged delegates? Did you feel like you were treated respectfully or maybe not so respectfully?
You know, without showing a bias, you know, I would be out of turn to not necessarily throw people under the bus, but to not bring it up, is the fact that, you know, we were catered to. Monday, immediately, as soon as we got there, everyone was there shaking our hands, giving us hugs, wanting to know everything about us. And then we went through, you know, like our own meetings and stuff with Bernie. We went through the everything on Tuesday as far as the nominations and all of that stuff goes. And come Wednesday, it's like we were invisible.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get catered to anymore. There was nobody smiling at us. There was nobody taking into account of how we were experiencing everything. And come Thursday, you know, I took it upon myself to not be invisible anymore. And I don't know, maybe some of you recognize me from a lot of social media and things, but what I took upon myself was to show up in, you know, a traditional ribbon dress, and, you know, I painted my face, I pulled my hair back, and I walked around that arena, and I walked around that floor, and I made sure that they knew that I was there. You know, regardless if they wanted to look at me or not, they were going to see me, and I didn't want to be invisible anymore.
Absolutely. You know, and it is really bizarre because, you know, for a movement that gets that much support to, you know, from one day to the next literally become insignificant is very bizarre. And when I got there, I remember being cautioned and told, you know, try not to do media. And I thought, well, what's the point of that? I mean, they've blocked out the entire Sanders campaign. Now we finally have the opportunity to speak to the press, and you're telling us not to? I was like, no way, I'm talking to them. Let's move forward now to what's going on here, protecting the water outside of the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota. This is a very, very important fight for the Native American community and for the country, for everyone that drinks water, for the planet, for the plants, for the animals. Why did you come here? Like, what inspired you to come here and lend your voice and your name to this movement?
Well, just to even tie it back to your last comment about, you know, how the media was really discouraged with interacting with us, you know, after the nomination took place and after they didn't necessarily need us there on the floor. Obviously, you know, with the speculation of selling of delegate packages and all of that stuff, and we all know it was true.
Oh, sure.
You know, I at one point, you know, I sat on the steps and cried. I can honestly say I sat there for a half hour and I bawled my eyes out. I was completely devastated. I felt that every trust and every faith that I had in the democracy of America was stolen from me. And just so happened the very next day, on that Wednesday, we were told through social media and through emails and stuff that the Dakota Access Pipeline's first permit was granted. So once we heard that, you know, we knew at that point how to go to the media tents. We knew what to do, where to go in the arena and everything. So we immediately went to the radio wing, and just so happens Jill Stein was there. And so instead of going up and getting our own interviews and, you know, like getting people to talk to us, we turned the cameras around and we interviewed Jill Stein, and we asked her, you know, like, how she felt about pipelines and what she was going to do to help protect people, and how she was going to come to the Dakotas and cater to the thousands of independent voters. And, you know, she gave the standard answer, and I was satisfied with what she said, and, you know, I was really hopeful. We exchanged information, and, you know, fast forward a couple of months, and she did take the time to come to Standing Rock, which is, you know, we're completely grateful for, you know, everything that she's done to advocate for us. But as far as what inspired me to come here, you know, I'm assisted in Wapton, Dakota, as well as Hunkpapa Lakota here from Standing Rock. And I have spent the majority of my life being proud of who I am, being proud of my family, being proud of where I come from. And the fact that I could have some say and or participation in helping save the water and saving our people and ensuring the next 7 generations have a healthy way of life is any more important to me than coming out here and networking and using the platform that I've created through the Bernie Sanders movement. You know, I've had around 500 people add me just because I'm a Bernie delegate, and in the last 2 weeks I've had another 500 people add me because of this. So I mean, to gain 1,000 people who don't all know each other, who aren't necessarily even here to participate here, but to use that as an outlet and help expose the rest of the country to what we're doing is really inspiring. And I just try to do my best and try to pitch in where I am, because I know that this is as important as anything else that we stand up for. And when it comes to tribal sovereignty and the fact that we're supposed to be able to practice our own laws, and we're supposed to have our own government, and we're supposed to be able to be taken care of for like eternity. I mean, we're the only ones in the United States Constitution that are recognized as a ward of the government, as somebody that the government is going to be responsible for the rest of our lives, for the rest of our children's lives, and for all, like I said, all of eternity. So, I mean, for me not to get involved would be to just completely disregard all of the things that Bernie Sanders stands for and everything that he's inspired us all to do.
Let me ask you one other question, because, you know, normally I wouldn't want to make an interview about a cause like this more politicized than it already is, but because we were both delegates, I feel like I can ask you this. As a former Bernie Sanders delegate and as a Native American woman, how does it make you feel that Hillary Clinton, the Democratic nominee, hasn't even mentioned the DAPL, much less come here like Jill Stein, but hasn't even mentioned the DAPL?
You know, I think I'm optimistic enough to hope that the political side of the conversation enables her to step aside as far as, you know, the president still being involved and still being in power and everything.
Good point.
So, I mean, I respect that aspect of keeping that bias to herself, because I know in South Dakota there are people who are in our political party and are part of the South Dakota Democratic Party who oppose this pipeline, but will not come out publicly and say it for the fact that we're in an ongoing fight to get them into office. So, I mean, and I'm not I can't say confidently who I'm going to vote for. Sure. But I will say this. There is a challenge to Hillary Clinton's administration right now to do everything that they can to help save the first people of this nation, because of the fact that she still has yet to earn our votes. We're in North Dakota. They had over 70% in the caucuses for Bernie Sanders. I mean, we have an enormous amount of support here. And in South Dakota was supposed to lose by 8,000 and we only lost by 1,200. I mean, that's huge. And it's just really inspiring to still be here, but at the same time, like anyone else, I challenge Mrs. Clinton to get involved, to speak up for us, and to fulfill her promises to the people. Okay, and last but not least, last week there was sort of a sense of elation around the country. Unfortunately, there was a little disappointment with the district court's denial of the injunction, but 3 federal agencies, including the Department of the Interior and the Army Corps of Engineers, granted a temporary injunction to stop work. A lot of people, they're patting themselves on the back on social media saying we won, but it's a temporary injunction. Work could start as soon as Monday, which is being rumored here. Others want a permanent injunction, but for a government that has such a horrible track record, as the United States government does, never keeping a single treaty with the Native Americans, how could this end favorably for the protectors of water, realistically speaking? I think what people fail to realize is that we've been dealing with this kind of oppression for like hundreds of years. So it's not that we're unaware of their tactics. It's not like we don't know that they're going to militarize the police and try to come in and scare us. But I will tell you this, that we have a strong faith. We were brought here with guidance from our elders and from our ancestors. So what we were going to do is continue to stay in prayer, continue to stay peaceful, and we're not going to let you continuously antagonize us.
Exactly.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even just down the road, there's a National Guard checkpoint. Like, people have said it resembles something out of the Middle East, and there's word that I haven't seen it, but I have heard that the local cops have semi-automatic rifles. This is completely unnecessary.
I myself will call out Martin County. All of us on social media that have been involved know exactly what they're trying to do. And I myself have talked about what the Bismarck Tribune did during the Ghost Dance with the scare tactics and the same maneuvers that they've done with their publications that completely just demonized the Lakota people and specifically the Hunkpapa people here in Standing Rock. So it's like, it's history repeating itself, but what people don't fail to realize is that we know everything about the American government. We studied history, we know our history, and we grew up around the table knowing how to rebel. So I mean, it's unfortunate we have to go through this, but we will continue to keep our stance. We're not going anywhere. We've been here this entire time. The fire that they've meant to smolder has turned into the biggest thing that you could ever possibly imagine.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much for being a part of the political revolution. There's no end in sight. It didn't end in Philadelphia. It continues on. It continues here, and hopefully we're going to transform the country.
Don't forget to follow our revolution and get involved.
Oh, you're one of those. Okay.
Well, I myself am running it for public office in 2018.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'm fully capable and fully involved in our revolution, and we have all of the support, all the same team, everybody. It's all carrying on. Bernie's movement is not over.
For sure. No, and that's a good thing. There's brand new Congress. There's our revolution. There's a lot of, I can't say revolution today. I don't know why. But anyways, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.